Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to auscastnetwork.com for details.
In a world where everyone says hello,
they dare to say,
g'day.
Yeah, g'day.
Yeah, g'day!
Yeah, g'day. Yes. Good day. Yeah.
G'day.
G'day. Yeah. G'day. Yeah.
There.
Yeah. Good day.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
good day.
G'day. Hey. Yeah. G'day. Yeah. G'day, Tim.
Yeah, g'day, Leon.
Yeah. G'day, everyone.
Yeah, g'day, everyone.
Well, Tim, today it's not just me and you and me, the both of us together.
No, it's not.
Right now it is.
Yes, at this point, before
Definitely pre.
before the interview, this is like it's a callback, but ahead of time,
A call.
which people will understand in the future. But we are also recording in the future, not the past.
There is no... Anyway, basically, so today we're doing an episode on the Melbourne International Comedy Festival.
Woo!
Because number one, we're in Melbourne. Number two, that's just started. And there's lots of good stuff to see there. But we're not the experts in the field, are we, Tim?
No, I am unaware of everything related to comedy. As anyone who listens to this podcast would be aware, I don't know anything about it.
It is true. So we have gotten the advice and the guidance from a man in the know, Mr. Morry Morgan, who is a guest in our show, who is a brother from another podcast, Mother. He's part of the School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast, which you may have heard Leon Huxtable on.
Yeah.
That's me.
We share a father, though,
We share a father.
in the Auscast Network.
Yes, in Liam and Andy. So we've had him on to talk about it. So what you're about to hear is an interview that we did with him, which is in the
future. We did with him in the future.
We haven't just done it.
No.
Where we
Another
talk
callback.
about the
Yeah.
Melbourne International Comedy Festival and the School of Hard Knock Knocks, and all things great about it. So let's go.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Do it.
All right, as we said, Tim, in that thing we just recorded before,
Yes, but ahead of this.
definitely
time.
done.
Not later on.
Never. We're sitting here in our dungeon that has been guest before to John Safran, to the Skype voice of Tanya from Bachelor Girl.
My dad was here.
Daryl has been
Not on the
down
show.
here. No, we would never do that.
He slept in here though.
Yeah, but Daryl slept down here.
Yeah.
Alice showers in here. And all of this is leading up to the fact that we now have sitting in front of us Morry Morgan from the School of Hard Knock Knocks podcast. Welcome, Morry.
Oh, g'day, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Morry waved.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Well, did we get that audio?
Yeah.
We're doing something. Obviously, I don't know if I've said this ahead of time when I record it later. We're doing things a little bit differently. Usually, I do the facts, but with this topic, Melbourne Comedy Festival, International Comedy Festival, you're the man with the knowledge. So I'm just sitting back, having a relaxing week, and you're going to tell us a bit about it.
Yeah. Well, I'm the guy with the Google, I guess.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
Google. No, we could have cut down on this episode and just had the two of us.
I've been using an old Encyclopedia Britannica
Yeah,
set
no.
that I found in my nan's house.
Yeah. I'm still looking at Ask Jeeves, which is dead. It doesn't exist, so it's hard.
Yeah.
And so, as I said, we've done an intro, but as you know, Morry is the man with the comedy knowledge, being part of that podcast that I was a guest on because I'm a super famous comedian, and also having the school that trains the comedians with all the skills that you need to be funny. I assume, unless you're training them to not be funny, so that you're funny, and then
It's an
you
elaborate
take over.
conspiracy. Yeah.
Is that the way it's going?
That is not yet, but no.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Well, we get criticism anyway. I mean, regardless of how funny our graduates are,
Right.
we have people will say, "Oh, they're not that funny."
Oh, that's
They're not
nice.
that funny.
Yeah.
But it's the comedy business. That's
Yeah,
it's a slap on the back, stab in the back type of world
Absolutely.
that we live in. So.
Yeah. I was told that Crohn's isn't funny, which I beg to differ. But
As in
boy,
old
howdy.
ladies.
No, Crohn's is in the disease. I
Oh,
have.
Crohn's. Okay.
Crohn's old ladies are not funny at all. We can't joke about them. That's hard.
All
But
right. Let's
push it along. Morry,
Fuck's sake,
please
let's do it.
tell me, the uneducated man that I am, and Tim, the idiot that he is, when did the Melbourne International Comedy Festival start?
Well, glad you asked. And Well, it was 31 years ago. So last year was 30 years. So that would
31.
make this year 31.
Wow.
So 1987 was the first one. 87, I was in year 7.
Yes.
You might have been...
Possibly a sperm at that.
Yeah, right.
I wasn't born yet, so you definitely weren't born.
Well, no, I know I wasn't born. I was just making it a nice picture of sperm. No, we weren't born.
No.
We were 90s kids.
But you probably recognise the names that launched it. Barry Humphries.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've heard of him.
Possibly Peter Cook. He's not as famous
No,
as
I don't
Barry
think I've heard of
Humphries, but certainly
Vaguely know
my
the
parents' generation, your parents' generation. Peter Cook is master comedian, and that was 87, and today, 2018, 31 years later, there's about 770,000 people go
Wow.
to the 3.5 week festival, which for a sporting city like Melbourne actually means that more people see comedy than go to the final series of the AFL, the Australian Football League.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, so it's actually bigger than football.
I would not have thought that down here.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. Really,
I guess
really cool.
people, because as you said, Melbourne is the sporting state, so I
Yes,
guess
yes.
people in Melbourne watch the AFL, but with the International Comedy Festival, people from all over come to Melbourne to watch it. It's not just Melbourneites, so you've got people coming from all over the world.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, on that note, a guy from Townsville, not that that's outside of Australia, of course, that's
Well, it's pretty far out.
top end of Australia, but he messaged me, he goes, is there any open mics happening next week? I'm like, mate, there's a lot of comedy happening next week, but it's definitely not going to be open mics.
Yeah.
He thought he could get up on stage next week.
Oh,
but,
cheeky, just step into the comedy festival, don't pay the fee or anything.
yeah,
that's fine.
Dave Hughes wants to take a breather, you know.
Yeah, he's been working really hard on that
Yeah.
TV show that I can't think of the name of. So,
Yeah.
right, so lots of people turn up.
There are lots, and it's actually I'm not sure, I think it's number 3 in terms of comedy festivals around the world. So
Yeah,
there's
right.
the 3 big ones, of course, Melbourne International Comedy Festival, we know, Edinburgh Fringe, which is the biggest festival of all,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
comedy's a part of that.
Yes.
That's definitely the winner. And then Montreal has the Just for Laughs.
Montreal,
Yes.
yeah.
And between the 3 of them, they're the top 3 comedy festivals around the world. Adelaide Fringe actually is the second largest fringe festival in the world, but its comedy component isn't as large as the entire Melbourne International Comedy Festival. So
Yeah, I think Adelaide Fringe is also the second oldest, isn't it?
yeah,
Like
no, I think it
underneath
is
Edinburgh.
60 something, wasn't it?
Yeah.
61 or something.
But it's interesting that their comedy element isn't as big because I felt like, obviously, as we've said before, I did my show in the Fringe Festival. Tim did his show in the Fringe Festival.
Yeah.
I felt the comedy kids really came out to play then as well. Like it was pretty big. Obviously, not as big and a bit of a different vibe to the comedy festival. Like my preference, International Comedy Festival is a much more enjoyable, I think, feel. You walk around, to paint people a picture that aren't here, I don't know what your experience is, but you walk around, a friend might tell you, $10 we'll go see this show.
Yeah.
You walk in, you may see someone hilarious, and then you can go to shows like 3 in a row. That's what I kind of did last time. So
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, well, that's actually a good tactic. I've used this many times. You go to the town hall. So that for those that don't know where to go, the Melbourne Town Hall is on the corner of Swanston and Collins Street. It's a big town hall there, next to the Burke and Wills statue, which we
yes, we
might
will talk about that. Yeah.
And there's a big board. There are 2 boards actually now. Probably once there was 1 board, but now it's 2 boards, chalkboards, and it says which shows are on, the times, and the writing is getting smaller and smaller because there's more acts.
Yeah, right.
And that's just for the one day, right? Every day they change it over the 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
So the best thing to do, a little bit of a tactic for you guys, and anyone listening, is go up there, look puzzled. Right, look puzzled. Maybe even have a rub a $20 note under your chin as you look puzzled.
As I
right?
regularly do.
Yeah. And without a doubt, some flyers. Is that the noun of
I
the
guess
person
so.
who gives out flyers?
Yeah.
Flyers, yep.
Flyers.
Fly eyes.
Flea eye?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Will come up to you and go, g'day mate, how you going? You want to see a show? And you go, yes, I'm interested in seeing a show. Oh, well, and then they'll say the show that they're flyering. Now, they'll be on the board probably. I think they have to be, but they'll also be on this piece of paper, and that's where you get your 2-for-1 deals.
Oh.
Right? So you go, well, oh, really? Interesting. My wife here, what do you think my second person here, what should we do?
The two of us.
Gesturing to a woman that doesn't know you.
Yeah.
Huh?
Exactly.
The two of us with this one $20 bill, that's all we have.
Exactly right. And look, it works for me every time, and it makes me look like a bit of a cheapskate. But it's getting a good deal that makes for a good night as well.
Oh yeah, we don't want to spend too much on comedy at all. Like, it's not worth. No, I'm kidding. No, you do want to get. That's a good tip.
Yes.
It is a good
If
tip.
anyone's here for the comedy festival, any of our international listeners, get that 20, rub it under your chin, and a flyer will appear, like a genie in a bottle.
Yeah, that's it.
It's the bright red one for our international
the
listeners.
lobster.
The bright one, yes.
necessarily brightly red one. The first time I ever came in contact with the Melbourne Comedy Festival, and I think this is why it's so well known all throughout Australia. Like AFL is well known, obviously, but it's very it's a very southern thing. They don't really follow it further north.
No.
But it was on TV, the comedy gala
Yes.
concert.
Yeah.
That was how I came into contact with like so many comics, like people like Dave Hughes and stuff, who I'm, neither here nor there on now, but that's how I
Back then.
came to know it. So yeah, I think a lot of people, at least in Australia,
Yes.
come into contact.
It's an
with
interesting one because I interview a lot of on my podcast. I interview a lot of comedians, and the caliber that you're discussing, and a lot of them don't like the comedy festival though. And
Really?
part of the reason is they've got, instead of having 100 people to compete against in any given week, they've got now hundreds, 700 comedians, and newcomers, people who've never done a show before, and that's while the pool and the pie is 770,000 people, that's still divided across a lot more comedians than they normally do. So the smart comedians, actually, Doug Chappell, one of the comedians who's actually taught the School of Hard Knocks and also been interviewed, he actually goes north. And he goes to Sydney and Brisbane and other places because a lot of those comedians come south, which means for 3.5 weeks he can get a lot more little gigs, pub gigs, RSL clubs.
Interesting.
Outside of Melbourne. So another little tip there. That's for the comedians.
It is, like, in terms of, as you say, in terms of there being so many options in that, and I am obviously a big proponent of going and seeing things you haven't seen or smaller people. I remember my experience last year, which I believe, well, no, I not believe, it was my first time going to the comedy festival. Was a friend said, as I've mentioned to Morry on his podcast and Tim knows, to go see Tessa Waters, and I kind of went, yeah, sure, like you're recommending to go see it, we'll go along. Amazing. If anyone has a chance, her show is called Volcano, I think. Go see that. But I was like, this is awesome. And so immediately he goes, well, there's a show on after with the Fringe Wives Club that she's in. And I went, let's go again. So we just did the two in a row. But last year, the only thing close to seeing a famous comedian, I think, was that I went to the Rock Wiz Good Friday thing, which has got comedians that were there. Like there were a couple of international comedians that appeared. But I didn't go to any of the big names. Like I didn't go to a Dave Hughes show. I didn't go to a Will Anderson show. I see that Will Anderson's posters around at the moment, which I shan't be going to.
Is it? What's it called? It's
Will Eagle.
It's a pun, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, bad pun. Are there other bad pun names?
Oh, well, that's good segue.
Thank you. That was pretty good. Good little setup.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, look, I've gone through, and this is just a very select group of pun titles. The reason that a lot of comedians do pun titles is because around August or September the previous year, they get asked, what is the title of your show in the late March, April Melbourne International Comedy Festival.
Yeah.
And these guys have barely worked out what they're going to wear that day, let alone something 6 months from now.
Yeah.
And so they often go with a pun on their name because they can then fit a show into that pretty easily. Will Anderson's, though, is actually, I think a lot of it's based on his flight to Wagga Wagga,
right,
where he got arrested because he has a back issue. He's got painful back and he takes medication, and he was met at the airport by actual police and taken to the police station.
Right.
And I think he was late for his show. That's actually how tight it was. So that's why the Will Legal, is it?
Yeah. Well, look, he doesn't do himself any favours, considering I've seen a show where he openly talks about all the drugs that he is on that are non-prescription. So I feel like the cops are probably like went and saw his show 2 nights before, and they went, well, it sounds like we can probably arrest this guy.
That's right, yes.
But what other pun names do we have this
Well,
year?
let's go through a few. There's a couple of international acts in this and a couple of Aussie ones. So the first one I'm going to say is Alistair Barry. That's the comedian, and he's got the International His name's Alistair. And the Al is a, big L at the end of international.
Right.
Not a bad one.
No, not bad. It takes a bit, I think.
Yeah.
Because if you see a poster that says International, and you're like, who's that guy?
It should be a tenuous pun award. Like, just for the best.
Yeah.
Or the worst, whichever way you look at it.
Well, I've got six
Tenuous
here.
pun, so
You choose.
Okay,
International, he's definitely...
We're going to
he's
give
number
out.
one so
We're
far.
going to give out the award today, right here.
All right. So Ben Tiffin, and his show is Tiff Upper Lip.
See, that's good. That's better.
Yeah, Stiff upper lip, tiff upper lip. All right, Fran Middleton. Fran, she's got Franny Pack.
No, I like that.
Yeah.
Like
No, I
Franny
do
Pack,
like
obviously.
That's actually quite good, yeah.
This one's a bit deeper. Isabella Valetti, I assume that's her pronunciation. Isabella Valetti is High Visabella. Like a high vis vest.
Yeah.
High Visabella.
I'm giving her points, but she's not in the running for the
No,
top spot.
it's a
right
harder
now.
one to picture, isn't it? John Dore, D-O-R-E. His name is John Dore. He's gone to Door to Nowhere. As
Yeah.
in D-O-R-E to Nowhere.
Now,
Okay.
look, it's a good pun. But if I'm going to go see a show and you tell me it's a door to nowhere, I don't know if I'm going to turn up because I'm like,
It's a
well,
bit
what am I
negative, isn't it?
seeing?
No, but it's a joke.
Yeah, it's funny. It's good. No,
good.
I'm not. Yeah.
And the last one, and this is Gavin Semple, and anyone who's been on the comedy scene in Melbourne for the last 2 years would definitely have run into Gavin because he is probably one of the hardest working new comics there is.
Right.
He graduated actually from the School of Hard Knocks in March 2016, so actually
Congratulations.
2 years from this day. And he's done over 300 open mic nights.
Jeez.
Over 300.
That's far too many.
That is incredible. I don't know. And his show, we're still with the puns here, Gavin Semple is his name, and his show is Plain and Simple.
Oh.
And,
Okay.
And if you meet Gavin, you'll actually agree. He's a very he comes across as a very ordinary type of character.
Okay.
Until he opens his mouth and he's hilarious.
Okay.
Cool.
So
Which one are you going for?
For me, it's a tie between Franny Pack
That's a good one.
Are we
and
talking
Plain
about
and Simple.
the best one?
Yeah,
Is that
the
what
best
we're
one.
talking about?
Franny Pack and Plain and Simple.
Oh, what was the Yeah, Franny Pack was.
Tiff
I
Upper
like
Lip.
Tiff Upper Lip. I'm a big fan of Tiff Upper Lip.
Okay.
The most tenuous one I think is the International.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Or the high. What was it? The
High Visabella.
Yeah,
High-
high Visabella.
yeah.
Bit difficult.
I will give that points though because there's no way in hell I would have ever thought of that.
No. Yeah.
It's original. We'll give it that much.
I'm going to go with Franny Pack. I'm making a
Okay.
decision.
Yeah.
And you're going with Tiff Upper Lip?
Yes.
Morry, where's your vote?
Oh, look, I'm a bit biased because of Gavin being a graduate. Yeah, look, it's tough. It's a tough one. Let's split it 3 ways.
Yeah, Plain and Simple was all in there, so...
Can we just quickly talk about the fact that he's done 300 open
Yeah,
mics?
that's a lot
yeah,
of
2
open
years.
mic nights.
Yeah,
That's-
over.
That's like one every. My maths is fucking terrible, but like one every like 2 days.
I was going to say, it's more than one week.
Two or
Yeah.
3 days.
Yeah.
No, he's crazy. He jumps.
That's insane.
If you look at him, he does not have any fat on him. Because
Right.
I think he runs between.
That's
And
impressive.
most impressive is he's actually he's not from Garfield, but he's from another town in that area of Gippsland.
Right.
So he gets a V line to Melbourne.
Okay.
Yeah, just to
Yeah,
do
to,
his.
to do those shows you're
do
talking
shows.
about.
Jeez,
And I was-
dedication.
Yeah, and I've spoken to a lot of room runners. Now, room runners is the term used for people who run these open mic rooms.
Right.
And they love him because he's a gentleman and he's polite
Oh.
and he's hardworking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. See, I also like when it comes to comedy, and when it comes to all fantasy, when it comes to comedy, I want them to be nice. I really don't like famous people in general, but comedians because like you go to their show to laugh at the jokes they tell, and so you become very fond of them.
Yeah,
and so if you
yes.
turn around and then find out that they're an absolute dickhead,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, well, that like I'm
think-
not going to go see their show.
I think with any performer, I don't really care how talented you are. If you're not a nice person, I'm not bothered. Can't be bothered with you.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I'm assuming Gavin will be nice forever, but
I
hope
there is
so.
there is a bit of a but here
All right.
because he's actually the Victorian Raw Comedy winner. So he won the Victorian
Wow,
Raw Comedy,
okay.
Oh.
which means on the 15th of April,
Yes. Mhm.
he'll be performing at the National Raw Comedy Grand Final.
Ooh.
Yeah.
At the town hall
Okay.
with other people from other states or
Yes.
from all over, and that's when he might become that arrogant
Well,
a-hole that you.
He
you know.
could.
Yeah, but maybe I
But
don't
look,
think he would. But
300 open mic nights over 2 years.
Man
I
deserves
reckon
it.
He deserves a little bit of evidence, I think.
Now,
That's
look,
some bloody hard
obviously,
work.
you know, I was in the heat for Raw Comedy, and I was asked to perform at the grand final, but I've got a lot on, and so I had to turn it down. Some would say disrespectful.
Didn't that letter say you weren't invited?
Um,
They specifically sent it to say
it depends
not.
on how you read it.
Yeah.
Weren't they just asking you to be the flyer?
I was the
It's all
intern for the
performance. The world's a
flyer.
stage.
They wanted me, no. But
Form.
there were. I'm planning on trying to get to that. It could be a bit tricky, but because the level of comedy that was at my heat was amazing. Like we had a great time. Like I was very, as I said to you on your podcast, I was very happy to lose because those people were really good.
Yeah, there's some great stuff in there.
And it's good, again, good bang for your buck going to the grand final because you get however many comedians from around Australia and for however many dollars. I'm assuming not too much.
$35.
35, and how many comedians is it? Do you think?
Well, it must be at least 7. I assume every state and territory is covered. But Victoria's sending 2, so it will be possibly over 10.
Yeah, so nearly 10 people for like $35. Like I remember now when we had Zach Dyer. That's his name, isn't it? Zach Dyer.
Yeah, Zach Dyer won it last year.
He performed at like our heat, so for the $10 or whatever people paid. So anyway, on that value for money. But you were telling us a story about Town Hall before we started, Morry. A bit of a statue there.
Well, let's bring it back. Yeah. So again, for those, so this is very much an Australiana podcast.
It is.
And we are talking about, the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. It's a Melbourne thing. And it's the epicenter is the Town Hall, as I said, Swanston Street and Collins. Now, that's one corner of that intersection. On the other corner, which would be the southeast corner, I think.
I believe so, yes.
Well, I've got no idea.
Yeah, I work in that area, so yes, it is the
southeast corner. That is, there is a statue. There's a statue of Burke and Wills. Have you guys done a Burke and Wills?
We haven't. I'm sure we will.
Well, this will get the listeners' taste buds.
Yeah. Tasting?
Yes.
Buzzing?
Smelling? I know.
So Burke and Wills. So look, if you've grown up in Australia, you would have known the story of Burke and Wills. Maybe not the whole story, but part of the story. It's a tragedy. They ended up dying. One man survived out of the group. Mind you, there was a large group. So just want to bring this into the story because I think, and I'll quote Mel Brooks here, the American comedian, tragedy is when I cut my finger, comedy is when you fall into an open sewer and die. And that what that is talking about is that essentially Mel Brooks is saying anything's funny.
Yeah.
As long as there is distance in the relationship between you and the tragedy and distance in time. Now here is a good example of that. Now I don't think although Leon, you look a little bit like one of the Burke and Will's characters.
Do I? Do they have these same glasses? Have they been shopping at Dresden? No, I look like all bushrangers from the last 400 years.
That's right.
Yes.
And so people would know that, so they went on an adventure. It was meant to be 2 years. They were going to explore north of Melbourne and go to areas uncharted. They took 19 men, 23 horses, 26 camels. They had 2 years of food. Obviously, we're going to pick up food on the way as well. They brought a grand piano with them.
Obviously.
And a Chinese gong.
Well, you don't want an Australian gong. They don't work.
Yeah.
And less than a year later, they were all dead. Now, some of those men would have just gone and pissed off. They would have just like, this is going nowhere. Ooh, look at that lovely young lady over there. But that is a classic example of tragedies when I cut my finger and comedies when you fall into an open sewer and die. That is almost comical in how bad it went.
Yeah.
Yes, and in how well they seem to have thought they planned. Like, we're going to be here for a while, so we need a piano to entertain ourselves.
And 2 years worth of food. If somebody told me to get 2 years worth of food, I don't even know what the fuck I would think about getting. Chips? Chips at last?
Do you reckon there's some of those camels still alive? Like, I know the people died, but the camels could... I don't know how long a camel lives for.
Australia has one of the... This is completely unrelated. It has one of the largest camel populations in the entire world. We actually sell them...
Wild camel
to countries in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where they came from.
I thought we had the only wild camel population.
I don't know.
Anyway, that's for the camel episode. But yeah, so you were saying that it's funny because Town Hall is...
It's right there. It's right opposite. And Melbourne is the... the centre of comedy. There's more comedy venues in Melbourne than there is in Sydney.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go again. Take that, Sydney.
And of course we have the comedy festival, and a lot of comedy shows over the years have come out of Melbourne. Sydney has a few as well, but Melbourne has a big majority, has the majority of comedy shows. And I just think at the end of the day, it comes down to that statue on that corner, because when you walk past that statue and you learn the story of how ridiculous their adventure was, you can't help but giggle. Yeah. And every Melburnian has heard the story in some way.
Yeah, I think it's also the... I don't know, I'll make a big claim and say the epitome of comedy in Australia, but we take the piss. It's our job as a nation. And so the fact that, there's this statue right outside the comedy centre, it's like almost taking the piss of it. But I think it's it's a good little tie-in. Now, before we started, I asked if you had any recommendations this year, Morry, for shows to see. What are you thinking? What are the hot picks?
Well, I'm actually going to see Phil Wang. Now, I speak Mandarin, so I would pronounce that Wang. But he's a Malaysian English comedian, and he calls himself Phil Wang, so he's Wang.
Good on you, Phil Wang.
And so I'm going to see him because I've seen, I think he did the Michael McIntyre show, or he's done a few shows.
Oh, wow.
Okay. He's a good name.
Yeah.
And I thought, I've got to go see him. And people who are unusual, say he's a Malaysian, so he's Asian, grew up in the UK, he's got a British accent. I think those are going to be the funniest people.
Yeah.
Because although you won't be able to relate to them immediately, you'll get to see an angle that they see that you don't see. And I think that's part of funny and humour.
Yeah.
So I'm off to see him. I'm also going to see Plain and Simple. I just mentioned him. A bit biased.
Oh, yes. Our good man, Gary Semple.
Gavin Semple.
Gavin Semple. Gavin, Gary. I call him Gary.
Gaz. There's only two names in Gippsland, and they're Gavin and Gary, that's for sure. Maybe Darren.
Oh, yeah.
So he's April 4, 5, 6 and 7 at the Basement Cafe, so I haven't figured out which one I'm going to, well worth it because his shows 4, 5, 6 and 7, and he'll be an unknown then, but on the 15th, regardless of whether he wins the Raw Comedy National Grand Final or not, he's going to be on television.
He'll be a name.
He'll be a name.
I was going to say they do because when do they air it usually? Is it a bit after or is it live or how is it aired?
Well, the gala, which was filmed last Sunday, aired. The gala was filmed on Wednesday last week, and it was on TV on Saturday. I think.
Yeah, I feel like they don't delay it too long.
No.
But they also don't want to put it on live because they want you to go. So I think we'll try. I'll try and be there.
Yeah,
and of course and then the Raw Comedy Final. So we're taking a whole bunch of School of Hard Knock graduates along.
Oh, that'd be nice.
We're booking out. Hopefully 20 or more seats.
There's only 20 seats in the theatre, so no one else can go.
Well, it's a town hall, so it's big. It's big, thousands there. We're going to that, and then can I do it? Name drop. The School of Hard Knocks has its own 12 shows under the State Library of Victoria in The Moat, which is a lovely restaurant cafe.
Fantastic.
I have been there.
You've been there?
Yeah.
Yes. It's a.
I think.
Yeah, it's underground. It's little red colourings. And it's quite nice. It takes about 50 seats, which we've actually sold out one of the 12 nights already.
Wow. Fantastic.
So that's 8:30 p.m. We're Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We have two shows on Friday and Saturday.
Great. And that's made up of all kind of students and graduates or current students?
Yeah, it's called the Best Of. So we've got over 100 graduates have gone through the program, including Gavin Semple. Gavin Semple's actually performing on our show as well.
Oh, fantastic. So, is that before or after the TV appearance?
Well, before.
Yeah, he'll turn up then, otherwise afterwards.
I think he goes straight into filming a series with Rebecca Gibney. Wouldn't he?
The classic. The Australian trajectory.
Yeah, that's fame. Australia is a series with Rebecca Gibney. Anyway.
Where he plays himself in the doco.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, rather than Delta Goodrum playing him in the doco. Right, so got a good number.
That's a good one. So Raw Comedy. Aboriginal is a good one too with Dane Simpson. Aboriginal.
Yes.
I didn't put that in the puns there because it was not his name.
It's not his
name.
But it's a nice pun.
Aboriginal, LOL.
I think someone sent me a link to that and we were planning on going to see that, so I'd be interested in seeing.
Well, Dane's a good one. He's a great one as well. He's from Wagga Wagga. So talking about Will Anderson, we're all bringing it back.
Yeah,
These are always
connected.
callbacks. These are called callbacks, by the way, in comedy world. So Will was on his way to Wagga. Dane is the king of Wagga in comedy. He has really put Wagga on the map for comedy, and he runs a show up there called Riverina Comedy. I think it's Riverina Comedy, and he brings a lot of acts to the region. He won the New South Wales Deadly Funny competition, which is the Indigenous Raw Comedy equivalent, which is part of Melbourne International Comedy Festival.
Fantastic.
And so from that he kickstarted, and now he does the Aboriginal tour quite a bit. So he was at the gala. Talking about the gala, he was on the gala last weekend.
Right.
So he's a big name, and he's someone that you might not know yet, but he's a very, very funny guy.
Fantastic.
And super nice guy. Like, you meet nice people in comedy, but Dane Simpson is possibly one of the nicest people I've ever met.
You've heard it here first.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Nicest guy. My hot pick, as I've said, Tessa Waters' Volcano. It's great. Again, super nice. She bothered to sit down with me and have a drink one evening to talk about comedy because I was scared and afraid, and I still am. You got any hot picks, Tim, or you don't care?
Oh, goodness gracious. No, I don't have any specific names. I'm just a big proponent of getting out there, seeing where your feet take you.
Yeah.
Where your ears take you.
5.
Yeah. 5 for 5 and 5 is great in the park there.
That's a good one. Well, Festival Club, after everything's gone down, I think it's 11 o'clock, all the shows are finished, and all the acts get... anyone who's performing has a participant pass. I have a participant pass.
Ooh, la-di-da.
Yes. And you can go there. If you have one, you get in for free, but otherwise I think it's $10 for everyone else. And you don't know who's going to be on the ticket. So you get a seat, and then, it could be Tom Ballard and Tessa, for example.
Yes, right.
And then a couple of newbies. So Phil Wang might be there. What's worse is when you've just paid $35 to see Phil Wang.
Yes.
And then he gets up there and he does his whole set again.
Yeah.
You're like, oh.
And this time it's free.
But very much worth it if you're after a good cap to the night.
Yeah.
And then there's an after party afterwards with all the comedians. Every Saturday, I think it's that's it.
Great. Well, that sounds like the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. I'm quite excited now. I wasn't raring to go before. I knew I had some things to see, but now I feel like I've got a full couple of weeks ahead of me.
Definitely.
Which will be exciting.
What to do.
Now,
what to see.
Before we let you go, Morry, where can people find your podcast or the school itself?
Yeah, we're almost on the same page. So www.schoolofhardknockknocks.com. It's a joke, and is it a pun? I don't know.
I think is a pun.
Sort of.
Yeah, nearly.
Yeah.
School of Hard Knock Knocks.
Yeah.
2 knocks there.
Yeah.
Someone made a good joke last night at our graduation night that we have a stutter.
Oh, I see.
that was
Did you cancel their graduation because they ragged on the name?
No, it was, yes. It was Brad Oakes, so he's already a big name and has been doing comedy for about 30 years himself.
Oh, jeez.
So
www.schoolofhardknockknocks.com,
or you can just go into iTunes or Spotify
Yes.
and search for School of Hard Knock Knocks, and it will come up.
Yes.
And the fantastic team at Auscast Networks.
Yeah. Great team.
They are lovely. You can go to their website and see us probably right beside your podcast.
Quite possibly, yeah. Although if one of us is higher than the other, let's not get into a fight because we don't know who it is. We'll just blame the...
Unless it's us, in which case... No,
that's good. Yeah, as I said, you can listen to the wonderful episode starring me, your favourite host of this show, definitely.
And other great comedians.
And not me.
52 so far. We've interviewed 52 great comedians. People like Tim Ferguson from Doug Anthony All Stars.
One of my favourites.
Greg Fleet, famous for his antics on stage and off. Steve Hughes, one of my favourite comedians, who's not as well known as he should be, but he's one of the funniest comedians out there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, big in Europe.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, there you go.
Fantastic.
Get into it. Get that podcast in your ears. Support the Auscast Network family of podcasts. I think that's all, is it? You're looking at me as if you've got something.
I've
yeah,
got
gas.
yeah.
What's wrong
Yeah.
with it?
No.
Why don't you thank Morry for being on?
Oh, am I doing something?
This is your job.
Thank you for being on, Morry.
Thank you, Tim.
And thank you for letting me thank Morry.
No worries, thank you. And thank you,
me
listeners.
for
and
thanking
thank you.
Morry.
And then great. All right, awesome. Thanks, Morry.
Thanks, guys.
What an interview, Tim.
What a cracker.
How can we even come back from that? How do you even tail an episode? How do you try to tie up something so rich?
I think what you do is you go into the tale by asking questions like, how do we possibly tie something up like this? Is that what... Was it a legitimate question?
It's what I was...
Oh, it got very meta for a second.
That's what I was doing. Tim...
Comedy,
which we are more aware of now than we were before. Great to have Morry Morgan on. Check out his show, as you said, School of Hard Knock Knocks, the podcast. Go on the website, do all that fun stuff, and check out the comedians we've mentioned. Yeah.
Go see some of those shows that we talked about.
Yeah.
We'll have some kind of documentation. I can't remember most of them off the top of my head because we talked about so many, but we'll get some kind of writing, some kind of written communication.
It'll be a real ruffle for all. Tim, I have in my hot little hands a dadvice.
Is that what that is?
That is, well, yeah. It's I've got something in one hand and something in the other hand, and if you can guess what the other thing is, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Tim, this week's dadvice comes from Kerry Ann.
Kerry Ann.
So Kerry Ann writes,
of the Kennelys?
Well, who knows?
It's unsigned. Right.
Yeah. Dear Tim and Leon.
Yep.
My name's Kerry Ann, and I am from Hobart in Tasmania.
Tassie. All right.
Haven't been there yet myself.
I have not last year, the year before. It's unimportant. Continue with Kerry Ann's.
We'll get down there. My issue is that every Thursday night is bin night. Much like ours, Tim.
Oh, that's so weird that it's the same night.
And every Thursday night, I take our bin out, and then I see the next door neighbour throw garbage in my bin.
That's
Tim and Leon.
Good. Yes.
That's us.
Yep.
How do I approach my neighbour to stop them from throwing their rubbish in my bin? Thanks for the show. Podcast of the year for sure, even if you don't win the Australian Podcast Award. Can't wait to hear about the Japan tour and this American tour that's going on as well. Love, Kerry Ann.
Okay, Kerry Ann. Firstly, interesting writing style, which I presume you picked up when you first read the letter, and then you emphasized it in the way that you read the letter.
Yeah, it was.
It's very impromptu.
It was an impromptu. It felt improvisational. It felt off the top of the head. I really appreciate Kerry Ann's voice coming through so strongly.
Yeah, no, you said yes to a lot of the decisions that she made, so that was good.
Yes, and
yeah. Now, my advice is the only way to get anyone to do anything anymore is just go nuts about it. Hide in the bin.
Ooh.
And when she puts it in, you get it. You fucking get out of that bin. You fling it at her. You got to take a hard line, but with a streak of crazy.
Do you not think the person will be thrown off with her just like if they open the bin and see her in there?
Yeah, if she's in there.
Because if they open the bin and Kerry Ann goes, "This is my house," it'll probably scare them.
Yeah, maybe.
I thought the route you were going with was the route that I'm more of a fan of, is that in today's world, social media is the key to everything.
Oh, right.
So you just start Twittering, you start Instagramming, you Facebook it.
Yeah,
and you'll see
that fucker's face.
I can't wait to see Cheryl and Miranda and all your friends commenting, going, "This is outrageous. I'm calling today tonight."
Yeah.
So I would go that route and just be
pick
like,
up that story.
My satanic neighbor is ruining my bin with his animal sacrifices. I think was the headline that we'll get.
Fat teenagers.
I think that's the headline that will get the most
definitely
interest. But
they're both interesting ways of dealing with it. Perhaps not the right way, but what is right?
Also, here's another idea: don't take your bin out.
Yeah, just allow garbage to accumulate in your house. Then eventually, you'll have the TV show Hoarders come to your house.
Yeah,
and they'll take it away for you.
And you can say, "This dickhead over here has been putting," and then it'll turn into Today Tonight.
Yeah.
Or once they put the rubbish in your bin, pour all of that rubbish into your other neighbour's bin.
Yeah.
And then
it's like a pyramid scheme of garbage.
And you make money out of it.
No. It's not a pyramid scheme, though.
Moral of the story is do what all great neighbours do. Write a letter and be as passive-aggressive as possible.
Oh, 100%.
Hi, David. It's Kerry Ann from next door. Look, I just wanted to let you know that it seems that some of your rubbish, it just keeps ending up in my bin, which obviously it's not a problem. I don't have a problem with it. It just seems a bit weird. So I was wondering if you could maybe just watch your own bin and see how that's getting from one to the other.
Mistake the bins. Maybe you thought my bin was your bin.
Yeah, which I get. They all look the same. You know, they're all
it's
the same
not
bin.
though, is it?
No, but my bin says 26. Yours says 28. You know, so... But, David, anyway, I'll see you for coffee next week. It'll be great. Just passive-aggressive the shit out of it. Also, if your dog could just bark a little bit quieter, that'd be awesome. Yeah. But again, I don't mind Tootsie. He's fine.
Fucking Tootsie.
Yeah, Tootsie. Thanks, Kerry Ann. We didn't help you at all, but you know what they say about bin night? It's a night for bins.
Yeah, there's a lot of bins on the street.
Too many bins. Tim, I want to thank Teylor Smirl Tea, Smell Smelly Tea for our wonderful cover art.
And also Curtis Fernance of the Fern Tree Music Variety, who provides our introduction, outroduction, and other musical needs.
Desires.
He satisfies our musical needs with his long, hard guitar.
Oh.
Too far? Too much? Did I take that too far? So find him. I don't know. Maybe he could help you with your musical needs.
He could. I'm sure he could.
He's got a lot of music to go around.
He does. Auscast Network. That's what I was trying to think. Thank you to the Auscast Network for letting us be on the network. And thank you, Omny Studio, for letting us host there. A lot of fun. A lot of great fun being on that. It's a great move that we've made, and we're very happy about it.
It's giving us a lot of control.
It is. Lots of control and upload.
Lots of control.
And it's also good that we now are on YouTube. So, you're sitting at home, you're going, I can listen to Yeah G'day on a podcast app. I can pick it up on the Apple iTunes App Store app. I can play it live on the internet box. But that's just not enough for me.
No. What is YouTube? I've not heard of that.
And then, out of nowhere, this new thing called YouTube comes up,
Yeah.
and we're already on it. We're the first podcast to be on there, one of the first videos ever uploaded to YouTube.
It seems to be blowing up. A lot of people are uploading a lot of stuff very quickly.
Yeah, first there was RedTube, and that had a lot of great cat videos on it.
Yeah.
And now we've moved into YouTube.
There's a lot of tubes out there, let me tell you.
But we are on there now, so that's probably best for old people that can't work out podcast apps. Direct them to YouTube.
Yeah.
And young people. And that's probably all there is. Find us on social media at Yeah G'day Podcast, www.yeahg'day.com. Struggle with words.
Yeah, type it with that slur in it.
yeahg'day.com and yeahg'daypodcast at gmail.com is our email service for all your Dadvis and Harold Holt Watch needs.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
It sounds moderate. It sounds informative.
It does. Again, thanks to our guest, Morry Morgan, for being on. Check out his shows. We've had a lot of fun. We've had a laugh. And Tim, now let's go on to record 2 more things this week.
There's a lot to do, isn't there?
Both of them for Patreon. If you haven't become one of our Patreon patrons yet, you should do that because we're about to record a bonus episode and our second film commentary.
Yeah, we're giving up our Good Friday.
My best
Sacrificing
Friday.
ourselves, much like another young man we all know and love.
Steve-O?
No, Severus Snape.
Oh.
And Jesus, I guess.
Steve-O Snape.
No, but
Better end it there before it gets too far.
Uh-oh.
Good stuff. All right. Yeah, g'day, Tim.
Yeah, g'day, Leon.
Yeah, g'day, everyone.
Yeah, g'day, everyone. Catch you on the flippity flop.
Love this podcast? Support it and sponsor today. Simply head to AuscastNetwork.com for details.